Hello students, welcome to the EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Rashmi Sharma, Head of the Department OBNHR, Lal Bahadur Shastri Institute of Management, Delhi. Today we will learn the module Managing Organizational Change and Development. This module is from the paper Contemporary Issues in Human Resource Management and Future Trends. We will be introducing the concept of change management, organizational development process, organization's diagnostic process, the challenges in change implementation, overcoming resistance in organizational change, and the development process. After completing this module, the students will be able to understand the dynamics of the change process and resistance to change in the organizations, have a familiarity with a range of organizational development interventions and techniques and an understanding of their appropriate applications, capabilities and limitations for effective successful change in the organization. Change management refers to any approach to transitioning individuals, teams and organizations using methods that are intended to redirect the use of resources, business processes, budget allocations or other methods of operation that significantly reaps a company or an organization. The following are the key drivers of change. Leadership. While management's role is to plan and implement a new structure, it takes leadership to guide people through the transition. And how that transition happens is fundamental to the success of the change process. Second, listening. Listening is an essential element to make change happen. People need to know that they are part of the solution and feel that they have some control over the outcome. It may be in hearing comments about why others are resisting change that a new approach, one that would be embraced by everybody involved, can be found. Third, vision. As a leader, your vision of the future is important and it is essential that you invite others to help figure out what needs to be done to move towards that vision. In order to manage organizational change, we must move out of the comfort zone. We generally want to do a good job and feel that we have been doing this and it is effective. However, this change takes us out of our comfort zone. When we are faced with something new, we can feel incompetent and really want to seek shelter in the old and familiar way. Engaging people in opportunities that build on their strengths and interests will result in more people feeling confident and knowing how to move things forward. By giving people a chance to explore new way of doing things, experimenting, taking risk, you are encouraging creativity and innovation in the organization and also having an engaged workforce in place. If you wish to celebrate the milestone of success, you would be having a happier, engaged workforce in place who are willing to take up any kind of challenge and accept any kind of change that comes their way. It allows them to see their progress and affirms them that the efforts that they are making are effective. If you have a small celebration in the form of an appreciation party or a get-together, it would acknowledge and energize the people who have been anchoring the changes that have been made. Organizations can only change when there is flexibility and adaptability. No organization can change which has standardized and rigid structures, policies in place. Thus, Organizations have to be flexible in order to respond to the economic changes, global changes and unexpected external or internal pressure. Let us understand the organizational development process. There are certain steps that are to be followed. First is initial diagnosis, data collection, data feed, planning strategy, intervention, team building and evaluation. In the first step, we are required to initially diagnose the problem. The management should try and find out an overall view of the situation to find where the real problem lies. The top management should meet the consultants and the experts to determine the type of program that is needed. In the very first stage, the consultants are required to meet the various persons in the organization and interview them to collect some information. Data collection stage requires the consultant to take the surveys and determine the climate of the organization and the behavioral problems of the employees. The consultant would then meet groups of people away from their work environment and get some answers to questions like: what is the specific job condition that contributes most to the job effectiveness? What kind of conditions interferes with the job effectiveness? What changes would they like to make in the working of the organization? The third step involves data feedback and confrontation. The data which has been collected in the second step will be given to the work groups, who will be assigned the job of reviewing the data. Any areas of disagreement will be mediated amongst themselves only and priorities will be established for change. Step number 4 involves planning the strategy for change. In this stage, the consultant will suggest the strategy for change. He will attempt to transform diagnosis of the problem into a proper action plan involving the overall goals for change, determination of basic approach for attaining these goals and the sequence of detailed scheme for implementing the approach. In the fifth step, intervening in the system refers to the planned program activities during the course of an organizational development program. These planned activities bring certain changes in the system, which is the basic objective of organizational development. There may be various methods through which the external consultant can intervene in the system, such as education and laboratory training, process consultation, team development, etc. The sixth step involves team building process. During the entire process, the consultant encourages the groups to examine how they will work together. The consultant will educate them about the value of free communication and trust as essentials for group functioning. The consultant can have team managers and their subordinates to work together as a team in the OD sessions to further encourage team building. Step 7 is evaluation. For evaluation of the organizational development program, the use of critique sessions, appraisal of change efforts and comparison of pre and post training behavioral patterns are very effective. Let us understand the organizational diagnosis process. The diagnostic cycle includes identifying the problem that the organization is facing and to determine the causes so that the management can plan solutions. An organizational diagnosis process is a powerful consciousness raising activity in its own right, and its own usefulness lies in the action that it includes. The major steps of a diagnostic cycle includes orientation, goal setting, data gathering, analysis or interpretation of data, feedback, action planning, implementation, monitoring and measuring, and finally evaluation. Let's understand the forms of diagnostic. The focus of diagnostic will be different in range of different situations. For example, diagnosis for a development or improvement will be different from diagnosis for remedial or problem solving, although the methodologies may be similar. The history of organizational development and the lead to organizational diagnostics is what we are going to talk about. Kurt Lewin is said to have played a key role in the early development of organizational development as we understand it today. As early as the 1940s, Lewin experimented with the change process, which was collaborative in nature and involved himself as a consultant and a client group. Now let us understand what are the challenges in change implementation. Planning is the biggest challenge. If we do not have a step-by-step planning process in place, change in an organization is likely to fall apart or cause more problems than benefits. One needs to understand exactly what exact changes will take place and how these changes will occur in the organization. Second, lack of consensus is another challenge. If an employer fails to get everybody on board with the corporate changes, they are likely to face barriers during the process. The decision to implement changes should come from the top level of the organization. All management level staff needs to be on board and able to deal with the changes that you and the organization might face and have a dissemination within the staff. Next challenge is communication. Failing to communicate with all the employees invites rumors and fears into the workplace, particularly if you are facing major changes such as downsizing or a merger. Employees want to know what's going on, whether it is a positive or a negative news. The feeling of uncertainty when management does not communicate disrupts the work and makes the employees feel as if they aren't a part of the decision. Employee resistance is another bottleneck that an employer or an employee might face in the change process. In some cases, employees resist change. They become comfortable with the business they are into and how the business is being run. They know the expectations and their own role within the company, so they have moved into a comfort zone. But when there is a major change which disrupts their familiarity and comfort zone, these employees become upset and resist change. Let's see how we can overcome resistance in organizational change and development process. It's always good to create a way to communicate with your employees about the new initiatives and their progress. Instruct the key management to provide employees with regular updates at team meetings. Market the new business strategy to each group. Explain the new plan in terms that help each group understand how the new strategy will make their own jobs better or easier. Invite a team member from each functional group to participate in the meetings or provide seminars for each group to market the strategy. Step 4. Select a group of change agents from key positions to help manage planning and implementation. Find one person from each group who is vocal. Try to select those in non-management positions as well. Fifth, develop a key deliverable or deliverables for each department, organization and person involved in the new business strategy. A deliverable is a final report or the output from implementing the new business strategy. In the sixth step, tie successful implementation to compensation. Create at least 4 key milestones and goals to measure the success throughout the year. Report on the performance regularly and publicly reward those people or groups that meet the goals. Understand the negative effect of change. There is a lower morale when staffers resist a change taking place at work. They may feel less optimistic and hopeful about their professional future with the company. This is particularly so if there is a lack of communication regarding the change. Lowered efficiency. When employees spend time focusing on resisting the change taking place in the workplace, they become less focused on doing the daily tasks that are associated with their jobs. This leads to a reduced level of efficiency and output amongst the staff, which can affect the company's bottom line. In a disruptive work environment, there is resistance amongst the staff. The negative effect to resistance among staff to changes may be a more disruptive work environment. Employees resist changes may cause commotion with outbursts regarding the changes or a combative attitude with the management staff. There are numerous ways by which you can mitigate the negative effects of resistance to change among your staff, from holding an all-staff discussion in which everyone can air their grievances regarding the change to provide extra training and resources to help the staff adapt, taking the steps to make the employees feel much more comfortable with changes may go a long way to create more beneficial effects from the change than the negative ones. There are few tips that can be kept in mind when we are leading the change. One is to handle resistance with patience. Patience is the paramount in all situations. We all know how Spider-Man learned the hard way that with great power comes great responsibility. But in the world of change management, we know that with great change comes great or greater resistance. We should expect it because it's not unexpected, and it has to be handled with patience, with communication and feedback. Reach out to your employees, ensure that they talk to you and share their concerns. Protect your team. Your team should believe in you without any question that if they stand by the established plan or process and some interdepartmental conflict occurs, you as their leader will have their back and will stand by them. This is the kind of trust that they should repose in you. Look ahead. Keep your eyes forward. Be the one to see the iceberg first before the rest of the team, and you will encourage confidence in your people. Encourage them to think critically and ask questions as part of the process, but be there for them. This module has helped us to understand that organizations can think of creating the future by involving people in the change process and set the change and stage for culture that is going to be innovative by attracting and retaining the most capable and engaged talent. Thank you.